This is not starting the show. It's just starting. Say what I don't want to.
This is the bad.
Well, there's really no good part of being a teacher except for the pay.
On the collegiate level, pretty smooth sailing throughout the semester. It's very, very end. Band concerts on. Look forward to that.
I had to post something in the car on the way here. Totally bugged.
About 100 K-cups. I know you're not a coffee guy, but you.
Correct? Yeah, I am.
So I went on Amazon. I got 100 bulk lot of like various half coffees. For the one I'm drinking, Foster. So I always get confused with Baked Alaska. One of the ones right on fire.
That's right, Baked Alaska. Yeah.
Okay.
Do a very good job of posting news.
Well, Pixels, he says he's been on the job. He's been taking up the slack.
I'm glad it's not. I've been on the road a lot this
I
week.
understand.
All day, and then
It's not they.
250 that I had to.
But the instruments are humming now. Tip top shape. Just think if they ever built an instrument that couldn't be repaired. You'd be like one of those wheel makers, something like
you're
the
going on the
Cartwrights.
assumption that I can repair them now.
What? I'm surprised they don't put your picture on the instrument.
Oh yeah,
They'd
go over great in prison. That's what I want.
That's true.
This is the
It
guy
wouldn't make you a lot of friends. Yeah.
This is the guy we're gonna kill right here. I felt like an utter butthead for we had this is one of the few times I've done it maybe one other time that I had to go back and edit one of our shows. The other show, it's because I left out we the second half of the show I somehow stopped the recording of. So we had to redo like a little bit, just a few minutes of it. But I had to go back and redo that, and then I forgot to add in some one other. My fault. So I had to remix the show totally, and then I remixed it, and I thought, well, I'll go ahead and add some of the stuff I do in post, and I'll finish it up. That's what I did. Well, I had two shows. Both started the same way. Both had the same entrance. Both had the exit. But they didn't have the graphics and stuff in it. Well, I uploaded the wrong one. So I got up to work, and he was like, hey, I don't remember who it was. I said, like, hey, are you getting rid of the graphics and the video? I was like, what? I was like, oh, hell. And I was like, I knew what would happen if I deleted that one because I did that already. I was like, well, time for the director's cut. That's what happened.
You're wearing your mic in the normal place. There.
Would you like me to put it somewhere else?
No, they're. I didn't know if I did have some stuff going on in there. Yeah, it does.
What's up, Bong?
Is that better, guys? Hey, Paul.
We need some of that. What's that stuff they put on voices to make them sound like they're singing better?
Auto-tune?
That's right.
Little T-Pain action.
You should do that for your song. You should get your auto-tuned up.
Yeah, I haven't changed the audio settings in forever, so I don't know what's going on. But let's look at the board here. Nothing looks out of the ordinary.
Wacky wackos, that's us.
Seems a little quiet.
There's nothing wackier than World War II submarine warfare. Hey!
All right. Let's see.
He says you're good to go now.
Hey, everybody. Yeah, we are a little quiet.
Hello, everyone!
Turn up the gain a little bit. I don't want to turn up the gain a little bit. I'm going to turn up the level a little bit. All right. Aaron, give me a
hell yeah.
Give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Okay, I think we're good. I think we're good to go.
These things, forever you had to fiddle with them.
Yeah.
You know?
That's why audio engineers exist. You know, if it was a set it and forget it thing, they just bring in the band and
thankless job right there.
Yeah.
Being an engineer. Man, I got here early today, didn't I?
You did. I was surprised, but it was good. Oh yeah. Aaron, your can's uncovered. Boom.
Yeah, where is my thing?
Your koozies? The koozies are over here. I'll go get them.
We don't want to give away. I'm not giving free advertisement to nobody. Thanks, Bong.
Bong asks, is it usually Mountain Dew?
It's usually a dew-like substance. It's either Mountain Dew or Diet Dew Tropic Sea, which I've got some in the car, but I knew both had Diet Dew. I was like, I'll just drink one of those.
Which one do you prefer?
Hey, I go with this one every time. That's my boy. Did you read Graham's harrowing tale about the guy pulling the knife on him? His response was quite amusing. I read it to my buddy at work. We had a good hearty laugh. And then, of course, you call this a knife video. My buddy goes, he should have asked him if he called that a knife. And sure enough, I scrolled down like, there it is.
Yep, you knew it was coming.
The Discord's been particularly amusing this week. There's all kinds of crazy stuff going on.
You know, it's funny because somebody was talking about watching somebody shooting up in the hallway down the hall from where they live. I was like, man, yeah, England, not a good place.
You know,
Foles talking about people stealing cars in his neighborhood using the RF thing. We don't have to worry about stuff around here. Nobody knows what RF is in West Virginia.
Oh, that happens.
What?
But this is not that kind of crime we have. We're more we're back to basics. Rocks through the dash, or or
just getting shot,
or just beating somebody up and taking their crap.
Yeah,
that's the way we do it. I didn't realize that meth was so worldly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess I should have, but I mean, we've got so much of it.
Yeah.
And I'll challenge anyone. The meth industry was really strong like bull. But like I said, I lost most of my neighborhood to meth labs back when I worked up on the mountain. I mean, the 3 houses near me all burned down.
Wow.
And the one house that didn't burn down, the 2 houses, one of them they went in and stole all the pipes. And then they came back and they stole all the siding.
Wow.
Who does that?
Yeah, what kind of a reclaimed siding business
it was
are you?
brand new vinyl siding they had put on. They took it.
Wow.
You know what they stole when they broke into my house? They stole one of my remote controls. I had no medicine or anything worth stealing, and they had to go in and out of a little window. So that's why I don't think they stole anything else.
Did I tell you that I was broken into when I lived in Korea? Yeah. So I woke up one morning, and there was this guy standing there. And it's like, how when you wake up in the morning, you're not fully conscious. And I was like, hey. And then he just left. He came in through a window. He stole my wallet. And I had my window. I left my window open for 2 weeks in a row during the summer. So I'm sure somebody just walked by there and saw that it was open. And but the FBI, or not the FBI, the FBI came, the president, the police, the local police came and they dusted for prints and stuff.
Yeah.
They were like, we see some shoe prints here. I was like, those are my shoes. And they're like, and they were offended because you should take your shoes off, when you go into somebody's house in Asia.
Yeah, but it's your house.
Yeah, but they were still offended.
My buddy told me that there's very little crime over there in Korea.
There's very little violent crime. You can walk down the the darkest street and the darkest alley, but there is still theft and stuff like that. That stuff
It's funny that he lived in Spain for a while, and said over in Spain people break into cars all the time, all the time.
That's just it's a national sport.
They also said they've got this special police force over, or maybe it's just the regular police force, but they've got a rule in Spain. It's called I guess it's the beat the hell out of you rule. These guys are elite beat down artists. If they catch you doing something wrong, they just beat the crap out of you. Right?
Yeah, Amigos is actually in Korea. This was in 2008. Maybe 2009. Spring of 2009, probably.
It's sad. Even I guess no matter where you go, you got a scumbag, and because when I was broken into, I remember coming home, and you had that feeling. I don't know if you had it since you were there, but it's like, oh man, someone violated my space, blah blah blah. But I was so not surprised that it took some of the, I don't want to say fun out of being robbed, but some of the mystery or panic. Because me and Dad just came in with a big industrial, mechanical screwdriver drill thing, and we literally, because what they do, they pushed my air conditioner out. Because as you'll recall, Mud Mountain has one door.
Right.
And so we screwed the air conditioner into the frame. I mean, there is not a man alive that's going to push this thing out. Now, the downside of this was, the reason it wasn't screwed in too tight is because if there was a fire, I could just shove that thing out and go. now it's a furnace.
Yeah.
So there's one way in. So I knew that if there was ever a fire in Mud Mountain, and I would just have to, and there it has caught on fire before. I would have to just barrel through and just and run out the front door.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
That's the way it goes.
You know, I didn't feel bad about it because no one had broken. I mean, they came in through an open window, but it was my own dumb fault for leaving the window open. You know, it was a second floor place, but they climbed up there.
You're a trusting man.
I should be more trusting.
Yeah.
I should be.
You should be more trusting?
Yeah, I should be more trusting.
What else could you do? Open the front door and put your wallet on the stoop?
Yeah.
You don't think you're trusting enough?
Yeah.
What makes you say that?
I don't know.
Let's examine your inner workings right here on the air.
Whenever I come into contact with anyone new, I immediately think that they're trying to scam me out of something. That's like the first thing I get to.
That's because you're from West Virginia.
That's true. maybe that's it.
Because everyone here, myself included, we're all working an angle. We got to.
Well, that's the case. Because whenever I approach a new person, I'm usually working at an angle.
Yeah.
So
Can I turn this guy over?
Right.
What's he got in his pocket? Can I take him?
I took his ring and his watch.
Teresa gets on me all the time because every time I see somebody, I size them up.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad was like that. My dad won't sit near with his back to a door or a window.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the way he is.
Mm-hmm.
He grew up out in Charleston and Jersey, and he's paranoid. He's paranoid of the cops. He's paranoid of getting mugged.
Mm-hmm.
And so some of that got to me. And so Teresa makes fun of me because I'm like, I'll look at her and so she knows what I'm doing. I'll be like, I could take him. You know? And if I see a guy I don't think I can take, I'm like, I don't know about that one.
That's awesome.
If I can take that guy.
We need to have Amigos on the street where we walk down the street with a hidden camera and you just size people up. See that guy over there? I got him.
So yeah, but then what might happen is I might get caught up on my thing. Oh, I heard your show. You said you could take me. Let's go. It's like, well, that was both.
I saw your picture on the instrument.
Get the sword. Get that man.
Get the sword.
Get
yeah.
him like a mackerel.
Did you see my new sword that I got?
did. I saw it.
Yeah. So I'm ready to fight some imaginary opponents.
Listen, that's the best kind of fight.
It's true.
That's
I haven't lost yet, except for that one time. I stabbed myself.
Man, the car break-in. It happens all that. You know, I've had my car broken in. Someone took my I had one of those gimmicked up DS cartridges.
Mm-hmm.
They took the DS and the cartridge. And it was Brent's. I was loaned. He had it on loan. And they've broken a Tree's car a bunch of times over to Mom's. You know.
Doesn't her mom live in Winfield? Winfield's
right.
even safer than
No,
Hurricane.
not her street. People go up and down that road getting in people's cars.
Oh.
Plus, Tree never locks her car. You know. So I don't lock mine. Do you?
Yeah, I put it in the garage when it's in the garage, but
Oh, a garage.
I know. Hey,
What
you turned your garage into a bonus room. You're living the good life.
I didn't do that. It was just like that when I got there.
Well, it was retroactively.
Did I tell you that after they did that, the people that owned it, Jen drove their car through the front wall?
No, I didn't know that. Was that just a party trick? It's like, watch what we can do.
I guess he forgot. He must have forgotten that he turned it into a room. You know,
and see how something like that would slip your mind.
Pull this thing in the garage. Oh crap! There's a wall. You know, too late. Bam, right to the wall.
It's hard to believe. How long have you lived in that house now? About 6 years?
Yeah, Pixels. This is what I get for trying to do it on the phone, man. Yeah, I'm sorry. I was on the phone trying to do, and it's not even the link I wanted. Then I tried to delete it, and then I just gave up. I was like, I can't do it. I'll just do it at home.
Yeah, Retro Man Cave, I had a bad experience. I was going over a kata, as it were, and I was doing the old flinging of the sword.
Uh-huh.
I got a little bit too into it, and as I flung it back, it just right into the
Your sword's
my 24-inch pythons. Well, the point is plenty sharp. The edge is not sharp.
Did you hurt yourself?
I did. Well, I mean, I cried a little.
Did you go to the hospital?
No.
You know, it's practicing martial arts weapons. I used to, of course, back in the day when I used the Nunchaku.
Mm-hmm.
We used to do katas, which are like martial arts forms, and you would be judged on them.
Sure.
And I would practice these. I'll never forget this. I was swinging them in my room because also I was like a teenager. I was like, man, I'm just like Bruce freaking Lee.
Sure.
And I'm swinging these, and these are the big heavy wooden ones, and I'm swinging these things, and I swing them both around, and both are right in the groin.
Oh my gosh.
And I remember because I was in my old room. I flew across my waterbed, and there's a little space about that far. I did knockback to myself. I jumped up, and my legs and my body were compressed in this space. And then there was that split second before the pain comes, you know, and you're just like, oh,
here it comes, here it comes.
And that was bad. But the worst, I was at a martial arts tournament, and you have to go in front of the judge. You walk up, and you say, hello, my name is Aaron Dowdy, coach of the State Khan, Southern West Junior Karate Club. Today I'll be performing Fuku Got Itch. And then you bow and you walk off and do your kata or whatever. I walked up and did my shtick. And as I bowed to the judges, my glasses fell off in the girl's lap.
Oh my gosh!
And then I went out and botched the kata, and I had to come back. And then when you do that, you don't just you don't continue. I stopped. Then and my coaches, they were going like, I walked over. I was like, I'd like to be allowed to re-begin this kata. And I'm like, okay. And I had to go back over and do it. And I was like, this is a disaster. I had a bow staff with me on that one.
Now it's unfortunate that you have no surviving pictures of your martial arts days, do you?
I've got some pictures of me in the gi.
But I mean, no tournament pics of you with the Nunchaku or anything like that.
I don't know. I've got my trophies somewhere.
Because I would love to see some pictures. Because we all know about the 3rd degree brown belt, but we haven't seen visual representation of.
I've got the belt.
You have the belt?
Yeah. I'll wear it over someday.
Okay.
Maybe for New Year's, I'll put on my regalia.
Oh man.
Over, yeah.
Oh man.
I think I can still fit my middle school gi.
You probably
That'll
can.
fit, won't it? What could go wrong?
Has the desk been moved? The desk has not been moved. This is just where it always has been.
I can't remember. Did we have a desk last week?
We had a desk last week.
I can't remember. I don't know what we're doing.
I was looking at, Leo Laporte. He's got that podcast network. I was looking at one of his anchor desks.
Yeah.
Man, I'd love to have that thing.
Why?
Because we could, it's like round, but it's cut off. It's like a half moon shape.
Yeah.
There's little places for your knees. Slide your knees in there.
There's a place now for your knees. It's
but
under
I
the table.
can't face you in a natural manner and put my hands on the table.
Why do you need to do that?
Well, to feel like I'm important, of course.
That's not going to do it. That's not going to do it. Leo Laporte makes top dollar.
That's true.
We're bums. He's got zillions and zillions of sponsors and crap.
Yeah.
And he's a professional who knows what he's talking about. All of these things we don't have. Or have no
We
we
got
don't have the
nothing.
capacity
We got
to do.
nothing.
We got this table. It's a good table.
Hey, this is a good table.
You need to put a buck and get a tablecloth for this thing.
Yeah.
Because look how it's just.
Well, I gave you.
Look how white that is.
I gave you. I wanted to. I think you said you threw away that black thing that was pinned to the back of the green screen, right?
I don't think I threw it away.
If you have it, that would be like a great tablecloth.
Dude, you can get a
bring that over.
tablecloth for $1.
But
$1. And for $2, you can get the fancy one.
all right, maybe I'll get a tablecloth. What kind of tablecloth
That
do we
thing had
need?
thumbtacks and crap in it.
Well, yeah, it's the extreme tablecloth.
It was jacked up. That's what I'm saying. Why would you want that?
It's a hardcore
It's
tablecloth.
because and also it'd be 50 times larger than this table.
It's got thumbtacks. It's got barbed wire.
Yeah, what do you need all that stuff for?
Just because we're hardcore.
I'm not that hardcore. Barbed wire?
Yeah.
No. You ever touched actual barbed wire in your life?
Yeah. I
It
mean,
hurts.
like.
Have you hung barbed wire?
No, but I've climbed barbed wire fences and I've done the drill.
I just can't imagine you want to farm or something. Have you ever done any farming?
I've never done. I've never done any legitimate farming. Like
you ever
on a
dug?
real
You ever
farm.
dug ditches for to plant stuff, or I mean, like with a gimmick?
Yeah. Well, when I dug that trench in your yard, remember that?
No.
When you were running the.
Does it count?
That-
Oh, God.
My agricultural experience has been sorely lacking. I think I did for a time want to go out to the old Schaller family farm and work the land for a few years.
Really?
But
What happened?
I realized that I realized that I'm at heart a lazy man, and there's not too many lazy farmers out there.
That's one thing. No matter what job I've had, I've always had a soft spot for because I count myself amongst the common folk like myself who go out and do a hard job for day's pay, honest wage, And I've got double respect for people that go out and do labor, like manual labor. And it's not just because I'm a lazy fat oaf. It's because that's hard. And the times I've had to do it sucked.
Yes.
And I didn't like it.
Absolutely.
And I wasn't good at it.
That's why I try not to complain about my job because
No.
digging ditches, doing any kind of manual labor is no good.
Yeah.
No
I
good.
remember one time there was this house. There's a house on Main Street, and it was falling in. It was a Smith house, and we had to go in and dig out the foundation. We're going to put cement under it. I did that one day. I was like, no. That's it. That's it for me. This is riveting conversation right here.
So Ravi is in the United States. Ravi, I think, discovered that that Georgia and West Virginia are not close to each other. It is a 9-hour one-way drive. And I think that he realized that there are a lot of things to do in Atlanta that are a lot cooler than coming to visit Amigos Studios.
I mean, I don't know how Ravi could stay away with the lure of such things as a trip to Biscuit World and the Milton Flea Market.
Yeah, those were literally the two things that we were going to do.
When Bo told me what he had planned, I was like, oh, God. We got a guy coming from London. We're going to take him to the Biscuit World.
Hey.
Trust me, Biscuit World's not it's not a world. It's a place. It's a little tiny restaurant that's combined with a pizza place that serves biscuits. That's it.
It's awesome.
And the Milton Flea Market is even less spectacular. It's not even a good flea market. What else were you going to do? Was there not a hoedown or something going on that weekend? Or
I could take him to see some of the scenic meth houses we have. I think they have guided tours.
There's got to be a place somewhere you can show them a mountaintop getting blown off. Get those.
Yep. I can show them the old Union Carbide drainage pond that's all scummy and it's got nuclear waste in it.
I was talking to Teresa about this problem, this very problem, because up until last Friday, we thought Ravi. I was like, man, what are we gonna do when Ravi and his buddy get here? Because these are some big time players, and we're small fry goose and. West Virginia has a ton of awesome stuff. Don't get me wrong. It's got tons. But it's not like, so the guys drive 9 hours, okay? You can't be like, hello, guys. Hop in Boat's car, and we're going to drive another 2 hours to go see this. And then if we drive 3 more hours, we can see that. Everything's spread out, man.
Absolutely.
You might want to take them to see the Mothman statue or the TNT stuff. That'd be great, but that's an hour, 10-minute drive.
There's nothing that's like, it's 15 minutes away.
What about Hawk's Nest or the New River Gorge? That's a couple hours away.
Right.
Let's go, maybe we'll take them to the Art Museum in Huntington. That's a 50-minute drive. There's a lot of stuff that's nowhere near us. What is the closest thing to us that's remotely cool?
Probably Mothman.
And there's got to be something closer than that. I mean, Art Museum's pretty good. The Radio Museum's good. But, I mean, also, these are people that come from, like, London and Atlanta.
Yeah.
They get some pretty decent museums over there.
Right.
So,
I mean,
it was nerve-wracking, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Were you nervous about it?
I'm always nervous when I have to show people around because I'm never sure, what they want to do, what they want to see. So.
Just take them over to my arcade. I'll buy a bunch of whiskey.
Hey, man.
Moonshine. That's West Virginia.
We don't need Ravi for that. Let's go now. Let's cancel the show.
That's what we should have done. We should have just had, listen, boys, we're going to go over to the arcade. I got that new N64 EverDrive, which is, by the way, thumbs up to that. I got it working. It's great. But I'll get a big bundle of pepperoni rolls and a bunch of moonshine.
There we go.
Corn whiskey, and we'll sit in there and do that. That's your weekend there. I'd drive 9 hours for that.
Absolutely. I'm gonna shift the camera. I don't know. The camera seems to inch closer to you.
That's the way it should be. It knows. It knows what the people want.
Some people
breathe me in.
Some people are just born to be in front of the screen.
That's me, all right. Old, good old photographic Aaron, photogenic Aaron, they call me.
Did you win any captions in your high school, like senior thing, like most likely to become president or anything like that?
No. I was painfully unpopular. I will say, I was in a lot of different clubs and band. I played on tennis team and some other stuff. So I had a couple letters. I wasn't like utterly oblivious, but no.
I didn't do either.
Also, screw the people that make the yearbook. Those people are all jerks.
That's true.
How about that?
That's true.
In fact, screw most people in high school. I didn't like much of it.
No.
That's like getting out of jail.
Everybody that I met in high school that I became friends with, that's how I met you, really, because I met Brent through high school. It was really more the band then. Because, Hose was in the band, right?
Most of the time, yeah.
What about with Dale? How did you meet Dale?
Friend of a friend, Pat. And Brian Walker. He worked in Huntington Mall, Camelot, with some guys I knew.
Dale did?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, back in the day. I know everybody, So, it's nice. But I didn't know everybody back in the day. I met a lot of people after that. Hey, I learned to hold on to my pals, man. Never let them go.
That's good.
Tenacious.
Let me make sure we'll start the show here. Let's close out. I did share that link.
Oh, they got catering, chicken pot pie. What are we doing here?
Yeah, I don't know why they
don't
don't
like chicken
put.
pot pie.
Really, what you want is to click on the breakfast on that.
I can't believe they're online.
I know.
I thought they may have a BBS.
That's where they put their nutritional information. They are the only reason why it's not state law that you.
Well said.
In most states, you have to put the nutritional information on the menu or somewhere.
Yeah.
The guys at Tudors, they have considerable power in the West Virginia State Legislature. They said no, because they know as soon as they put exactly what goes into those biscuits on the menu, people are going to stop coming.
Oh, they're going to make their own? Or they got strychnine in them?
It's like 1,000% lard.
Oh, wait a minute. So hold on a second. You're telling me with a straight, but we can't start the show before you answer this question. You're telling me that West Virginians, the most unhealthy, depressed losers in the entire United States, they're going to look at this menu with these ingredients and they're going to stop having Biscuit World.
Okay, you're right.
Okay.
I take it back.
They'd be like, listen, here's what's in. Little people take meth. You know what's in meth? It's a bunch of horrible, deadly chemicals.
It's true.
And they're still taking it, boy. They're taking, oh yeah, some meth or heroin. People die of heroin all the time.
You know, in my glory days, I used to go.
You're going to use heroin to springboard into a story?
I used to eat 3 shaved ham melt biscuits at Tudors.
That's a lot
I used
of
to be able to
biscuits.
roll in there and eat 3 of them.
How are you not a big fat guy? And I am.
I
can't
used to
do
be.
that.
I used to be quite large.
What
in my
happened,
early
man?
days.
I don't remember that.
When we started the podcast, remember? I weighed like 230.
You don't look that much different to me.
Really?
No hair.
Yeah, that's true. I have changed that. But all right, ready to get this thing on the road?
Yo, yeah, I'm ready, man.
Okay.
Good God, what are we doing this week?
Silent service.
That's right. I got it. I'm ready.
Okay.
We got any?
I got feedback, and then I'll kick it over. All right.
All right, kick it over. All right, I'm ready.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today we're going to be talking about Silent Service 2. But before we get into the game, Aaron, we got some feedback from this guy. His name is Mike S.
This guy.
Yeah.
Mike S. Was he in the room?
He says, hi, guys. Love the show. I was thinking about FPGA hardware last night and something dawned on me. Technically, they're not emulators. An FPGA Amiga system is basically an Amiga compatible, much the same way AMD CPUs are Intel CPU compatible processors. If an FPGA processor was more like a Transmeta CPU, then I could see it calling it an emulator. Back in 2000, a company called Transmeta shipped a CPU that was compatible with Intel CPUs. The Transmeta CPUs contained an Intel instruction set interpreter, and since an interpreter was involved, they were basically Intel CPU emulators and hardware. Since FPGAs are executing the 68K instruction set directly, no interpretation involved, FPGAs are not emulators. I would have no problem calling an FPGA-based system an Amiga. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree. I never said that FPGAs were emulators. Mm-hmm. They're not. But they are, but they're not. They're hard. They're effectively simulating. How about that? Hardware components. I mean, that's what they're doing. So they're very, very close to legitimate hardware, and so therein lies the rub, or the tail in this case, which is, does that matter?
Right.
All right. I agree. I mean, now what was it? Transmeta?
Yeah, the reason why I pulled this from the stack of emails that we get every week is that, I was wondering if you'd heard of this Transmeta CPU before.
It sounds like some witchery there.
Yeah.
You know, back in the Dizzy, you've heard me talk about the old Cyrix chip.
He was in Mortal Kombat 3, wasn't he?
That's Cyrix, but you're close. But Cyrix was a chip manufacturer that had a good run in the early days of the Intel era before the Pentium. And Cyrix made chips that were Intel compatible. In fact, like I said, I've mentioned my first PC was a Cyrix 486 chip in a 386 Intel motherboard. Mm-hmm. Okay. So what does that mean? Does that mean I didn't have a true PC? No, I had one, just they made a chip. So I mean, I guess you could sort of equate what this is to that. Mm-hmm. I know you'll love this conversation, so I'm going to just keep on talking. No, I mean, listen. Hey, I don't have any problem with the FPGA stuff. Like I said, if they make a new line of computers and say, look, these are Amigas, they're FPGA Amigas. In fact, I think that's better, more palatable than the actual add-on, mm-hmm. because It's not like somebody else is going to be cranking out Amiga.
It's definitely more palatable to the wallet than the X1 or those the new school Amigas.
I saw that you mentioned that I had not messed with those, despite my promise in one of the early episodes. It's incorrect, Boat. I have looked into them. I'm too inept to use them. Okay,
I see.
Let's get it right.
I see.
But yes, thought-provoking from Mike S.
Thank you, Mike. All right, Aaron. Get on board. The gamble train's a-calling.
Oh, God.
It's a time for another week of exciting, action-packed Amiga news.
Well, guess what? I did a horrible job this week of documenting all Amiga news, but I will do my best here to get through some of this stuff. In fact, some of the stuff I didn't even post, and so that'll make it a little more fun. I'm trying to see where we left off here, Boatster. Now, did we talk about Heroes of Gorluth last week? The pre-orders are out. I think we may have mentioned that.
Talked about that.
If that's your bag, hop on over.
Does Google Plus not have a way to just list things in order?
It's got 6 days. Well, here's the thing. This is a good time to get into this. I post news in a very moronic way. And the way I do it is, when I see the nose, when I see the nose, I blow the nose. When I see the news, I just post, I link it up on Google Plus, right? And if you look at Google Plus, it'll tell you, instead of saying like, here's the date it was posted, it just says 6 days, 7 days, 8 days. Now, since we do this show once a week, right? Then I look at the thing. Does it say less than 7 days? We'll give that one a shot. And so this particular story said 6 days. Now,
it's because it's been 6 days and like 2 hours.
That's right. And so that's why occasionally there's, and listen, the people enjoy some of this information being put over and over out there.
I can get behind that.
And especially because, what are you going to do? Yeah. So there you go. Hey, you can still pre-order it, Boat.
It's still up.
Stop yanking my chain, Boat. Okay, so next on the docket here, The Game. Did you see this? Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
This is a J Minor released version of the .95 of The Game.
Now, wait a minute. J Minor?
Yeah, I saw it. Hey, listen, that's the indie retro news. That's what I thought. So there you go.
Okay.
Let me see what else we've got here. I've got to make sure that we haven't covered some of this stuff now that you're on me. Oh, this this is an interesting one here from the Dreamcatcher. I love him. This is he covers a game based on the Disney classic. We'll use classic loosely here. The Black Cauldron. Have you ever seen the Black Cauldron?
No.
I saw it long ago. This, to put a little backstory in it, is...
This was during the dark period of Disney animation.
I hear that, but what that means extra in this particular case, the Black Cauldron is a more sophisticated, more adult film that have some very provocative and violent situations that happen in it. And it tankery dude. Now, it went through a bunch of rewrites and a bunch of oversight, and we're worried about this, let's change that, a lot of stuff that went down. And so when it came out, it didn't work. It failed. So, but hey, that never stopped nobody from making games. When you got Red Heat and some of these other games, you got to have a game for Black Cauldron. And so Dreamcatcher actually looks at this, and this is a, I don't want to think we ever take Dreamcatcher and his work for granted, but I love this. I read it. It was real interesting. Piece that he wrote, that it covers, I mean, the way this was written, and I wanted to touch on this a little bit, because, I want to touch on some of the actual text in this. The guys that wrote this they were so broke. Okay, now get this, listen to this. You've got Roberta Williams, Elaine Boulay. You've heard of some of these guys. Nancy Casero.
These are the writers of the film, The Black
Cauldron?
No,
these are the writers of the game.
Oh, okay.
Okay, they were, Roberta Williams, enough said, all right? So they had no money. They had no studio.
How did they have no money? Isn't this after King's Quest, when she was already a billionaire?
Listen to this. This is they had no place to do the game, and so this was developed shortly after the first King's Quest title.
Okay.
By some of the staff. Okay. So they're like, we want you to do this, but we don't have anywhere for you to work. So come over to the house. So this began. This is Al Lowe. He hauled his computer and set up in Ken and Roberta's game room with a couple other guys, and they made this game. They had no money, so they just sat in this room for months making the game.
Crazy.
It's outstanding. Outstanding.
I didn't
work
even
here.
know this. I like these sort of games.
I know.
And so maybe
Well,
I'll
it
give
wasn't
this
it
shot.
wasn't a big player, was it? So, I strongly urge that people read this. And if you should see the film,
I should watch the movie.
It's definitely worth seeing just because it's an unusual film.
Is it like
Disney.
Black Hole?
No. Well, I mean,
Because
Black Hole was sort of violent.
I
sort of
equate
scary.
those two movies in my head for some reason.
Well, I mean, I know you're being a doofus, but
No, I
in
mean,
actuality,
didn't
there
they
is
come
some
out about the
semblance.
same time too?
Nah.
Like early '80s?
But it was somewhere in the ballpark,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Black Hole, by the way, I saw in the theater, scared the hell out of me as a kid, and I like that sort of thing. Remember the bit at the end where the robot, like shoots out into space, and it's got the guy's face in it? And
Because I haven't seen it.
Oh well, I would watch that one too. All right, next on the docket, the Boatster. Now, I've mentioned this before. I'm going to mention it one more time because I love it. Because this guy is pitching this, and he's got it ready to go. It's a work in progress. The Amiga Frontier BBS is up and running. This is a fellow that I found on the Amiga Facebook group. He's just kind of pushing this thing. I've been on here, and it's cool. He's got Amiga files. He's got Amiga Echo Mail running. He's got a bunch of files on here, door games, network games, and soon. Now, right now, you can access this just with your internet computer, but from his direct words, at some point soon, you'll be able to actually dial in on your modem.
So
Which would be awesome.
is there any link to this actual thing?
Well,
or
no.
is
You
it-
if you let me see. Did I not? I could. Oh yeah, right there. It's still look. It's.
Oh, there
I've
it
got
is.
it
I
written
see it.
in there.
Yeah.
You really can't link this. I guess you could, but you can't. Yeah. So there you go. But please check this out. I was on here at school, and I don't like anybody that's doing that kind of stuff. So, are you gonna have a look?
There it is.
Yeah. Look at that, Antsy. That's Conan, yo.
Is that Conan?
I don't know. It looks sort of like him, or maybe it's you. He's got a sword.
He kind of looks like the guy from Lionheart with blue hair.
Listen, he's not that cool.
What was his name? Lionel?
Yeah, he's getting on his train. All right. Boy, it's going to be a rough show. I can tell that. Next on the docket, God bless this man, Pixels at Dawn. He's
really provided the lion's share of the news
He's
this
picked
week.
up the slack. Oh, wait a minute. What? Are you making fun of Lion again?
Oh, yeah, that's hey.
Yeah, double trouble.
So
Pixels, I don't know. Have you looked at this yet? Many Amiga, I'm going to read verbatim here.
Okay.
Many Amiga products were accompanied by videos, tutorials, commercials, promotions, and now AmigaVideo.net is working to preserve these. That sounds pretty good. Have you seen this yet?
No.
It says here, go and watch Amiga Format's intro to the A1200 or the video that came with WrestleMania.
Oh,
Holy
okay, so
smokes.
these are all like the promotional videos that were.
This is tremendous.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Now, there's the ball. You got to have the ball.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that looks pretty good. We'll have to delve into these. We may have to come back and do a special look through of these.
You know, it's funny because they are hosting all of these videos on their site themselves. It's been so long since I've seen that where it's not just a YouTube link. So pretty cool, very professional operation.
Very good. So thank you, Pixels, for that. Pixels has another angle here, and it's funny. This was the one I was trying to post. So. This is the Vintage Wave blog. Have a new article, and I did actually look at this article. It's called "Buying a Commodore Amiga 30 Years Later," and it's a trip down memory lane, so to speak, nostalgic. You know how those crazy old computer collectors are, holding on to their Amiga all these years. What an intrepid bunch, doing their thing. And then it has a little thing here on like buying stuff, the problems you can run into. This guy goes into his favorite game.
So I guess if you're itching to get back into the scene, maybe you should give this a read.
It's like a primer, right?
Yeah.
Another Pixels joint here. This is on Amiga Love. We love Amiga Love, of course. About the largely forgotten Amiga 1000 expansion, the 1060 sidecar.
Oh wow.
But get this, it adds a PC to your chunky desktop Amiga.
Man, you're talking about some weight if you combine that with the Amiga 1000.
Look at that thing.
That's like a whole other computer.
What we're looking at here is something. If you picture a 5 1/4-inch disk drive and then add about another third to the side of it, and then add, it's like an external case for that. But I mean, it's huge. That'd be a monster.
It's massive.
Now, does that fit in with cable?
Look at that thing. That's a whole nother PC that connects to your 1000.
You know, that is. I've never heard of this.
Yeah, me neither.
And I would like to have it now.
Boy, I
Amiga Love, who is the premier Amiga 1000 master. He's got, and so this clearly, I'm not surprised this came from over there. Look, I mean, that's a small PC, is what that is.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely.
We're going to look into that too, because I'd like to see if that is just a PC that just plugs in. It's like, oh, it's got pass-through video, or can you do stuff with it?
Yeah.
Wacky. Another Pixels. Man, he was on fire this week. So get this one. This is the Amiga. He says Amiga rocks literally in this case, as internationally renowned rock band Muse revealed that the band wouldn't exist if it weren't for the lead singer Matt Bellamy's A500 with a 1 meg upgrade. Have you ever heard of Muse?
Yes,
Boat?
Muse is a very popular group.
What are they? Have I heard any of their stuff, Boat?
No, it's not for you. It's college music.
It says here Metalhead. This doesn't sound like college music at all.
Today's metal is yesterday's college music.
Is that true?
That's on the bumper sticker on my car.
That can't be true. So I mean, it's not that much different. I don't think. I'm sure I've heard some of their songs. Can you name any song they did?
I don't know.
You don't know anything about Muse, do you? You were just making it up to make me look like a jerk.
How could you think I would do something like that?
Because that's your gimmick. That's your gimmick. Okay, so one more from Pixels. Now I actually started watching this earlier today, but I didn't get to finish it. It is a YouTube documentary, and it takes sort of a grim view of
just that thumbnail, you know?
Yeah, the Flatline, how the Amiga languished. And I watched about the first 10 minutes of it, and it shows, of course, the Amiga launching, the first killer app, all that stuff. And then, as usual, the problem with the Amiga story is. And some of the documentaries have managed to pull off a happy ending, but the problem is it's not happy.
No.
It ends horribly and tragically, and we all get screwed. So this is yet another documentary that says, yeah, we all got screwed.
Yeah.
But there's an upside because we're like a phoenix. We're coming back up
from the ashes.
So I think that's nice. And I think that will end that. You got anything else you want to talk about? Oh, I guess we should talk about the stuff we did. You want to go over that since that's okay? Go ahead.
This week, I took a look at Silent Service 2, so you can check that out. I did a little playthrough of that where the majority of the video, I'm actually just trying to maneuver my craft.
You should have called that Boat Trapped at Sea, Part 1.
It's funny because if you go to play today's game, it is you can download the manual. The manual is massive.
Yeah.
But if you really want to play the game, just go on over to Lemon and download the quick start guide that gives you, like, to make the sub go forward, press this key, because that's really what you need.
I'll tell you something. You're not going to believe me, and I don't want to give it away before we start playing. I actually figured this whole game out without any documentation.
You're a genius.
And then I went back and got the docs to make it easier for me. But yeah, I'm not a genius. I guessed a lot. And also, I watched your video. So at least I watched the first half of that, and I was like, holy cow, I got to do better than that.
If it wasn't for the my intrepid crew, first mate Pickles at Dawn, throwing me tips, it would have been a long haul.
He's all over this show.
Yeah, he is.
We need to have his picture back here.
That's right underneath the Amigos neon sign. So ARG presents this week.
Double trouble.
Yeah, you guys, you and the Brent did 32X. This was posted twice. If you checked it out immediately when ARG comes out on Wednesdays, give it another look because Aaron has uploaded a new version with gameplay footage for both the games.
I uploaded the wrong one, y'all. Sorry about that.
Yeah, so this week you cover a Spider-Man, Web of Fire, and Dark Side from the makers of Elite Dangerous.
Yeah, spelled cool guy style.
Yeah.
I actually kind of felt bad this week. I enjoyed the show, but I did not endeavor to have us show two weird, obscure games that
I don't think Spider-Man is that obscure.
Didn't let me finish. They were considered horrible. And so, like I mentioned on the show, I picked the majority of my games for what the cool name is, as you know.
Yep.
And sometimes that works out great, like I did on the ZX back in the day with Death Race or whatever it was. And then sometimes it's not so good. But actually, Dark Side I thought was okay. But it could have been worse. But yeah, I enjoyed it. And this upcoming episode should be a real nutty affair as we delve stealthily into the FM Towns Marty.
That should be great.
Bizarre Japanese system. And we also are going to have a special announcement on this week's ARG. Yeah.
I posted a couple playthrough videos of comparisons. I compared the new Atari 8-bit version of Donkey Kong with the 1983 original, and I was really impressed. Some people didn't like it; they liked the original better. But
really?
Yeah, but
Man, I can't believe that.
I think that I think the updated version really looks better.
The new version is a lot better in my.
Yeah, and then last but not least, I put up a port comparison, one more Outrun port comparison. This time it's the Master System versus the PC Engine. I felt kind of weird doing two Outrun port comparisons, but I wanted to see what the 8-bit and I guess PC Engine, the early 16-bit, had to offer, and lo and behold, both of them trounced the Amiga version to the surprise of no one.
Yeah, I don't care. Did we talk about Wild Cup Soccer last week?
No, talk about Wild Cup Soccer.
I did, this is another in the series of games we were sent. I had to go at Wild Cup Soccer. It's funny, we played the game, the other game that this company made, and I'll be darned if I remember what it was. This was, remember Brutal Football? Brutal Sports Football. This was like Brutal Sports Soccer with weird animals. I believe this was I think that Ravi sent this over. And it was a 32X, excuse me, listen to me, CD32 game, and it was interesting. I did have a lot of fun. I mean, just murdering people, and you could just murder the crap out of each other. And it was, I had a good time trying to figure it out. Watching marvel at me painfully try to score any goal. I mean, I'll have killed their goalie.
Is your Amiga monitor mounted on your ceiling?
Yeah, I was using the TV.
Oh, okay. You look like you're gazing up to the heavens.
I am. That's the Amiga. It has a special place on my wall. But yeah, so I did have a go at Wild Cup, and it was pretty good. I enjoyed it.
And our very last video that just went up, well, I guess it's gone up several days ago now, but it feels like it just went up.
Controversial.
One of my favorite games, one of your favorite games, I know.
Absolutely.
I compared the C64 version of Blue Max with the Atari 8-bit version. I think that the Atari 8-bit version is superior because it plays better, and I think the music is better. But some people think that the slow as molasses gameplay is more realistic on the Commodore 64 version.
I actually went back and played both these this week through emulation, I'll have to say. And I remember I liked them. I actually like them both. The music, it really is a toss-up. It's pretty close.
It's very close.
They're both good. The C64 version has bigger sprites. The plane is larger. It's not super slow. It's only really, really slow when you're taking off. It looks much worse than it actually is. But I always played the Atari version of this. It's the one I played growing up, and I think also I'll tell you that I think the C64 version is easier if you want the truth. But I think I prefer the Atari version, I have to say, on this one. But Blue Max, great.
Great on any platform.
Should have been on the Amiga, yeah.
Don't play the Blue Max on the Amiga.
No,
it is
it's
not
a lie.
The same game.
It's a lie.
All right, Aaron, you ready to get this party started?
I am.
Tell me about your experience with submarines.
Well, I've been on a couple submarines in my lifetime, including there's a submarine in Charleston, South Carolina, that we actually got the tour. Right now it's submerged. They're trying to save it. They're hopefully by 2020 they're gonna actually be able to race this up out of the tank it's in, and you'll be able to actually physically go up and touch it.
Is this a World War II era submarine?
No, this is I think a Civil War
submarine.
It's real old.
Wow.
I think it's the Hunley. Is what it's called, but it's got a real huge museum around it. It's weird because it's in a real bad part of Charleston. Go figure, but awesome. And then they've got replicas that you can get in. So this thing, trust me, a boy like me ain't getting in this sucker. This is like a guy like wafer thin.
Very close quarters in there.
Yeah, it only went out a couple of times and people died on it a lot. But I've been on that, and then I've been on one other unsubmerged sub. Gosh, I can't remember where I was at, but it was cool. I really enjoyed it. Have you ever been on one?
Never. I'd love to. I'd love to take a tour, as it were, and see. I've got a buddy, one of my old fraternity buddies, is a submariner, and is over in Hawaii, and so seems like something that it's one of those things where I'm glad there are people that want to go under there for 6 months at a time. Yeah. But boy, that would be a rough life.
It's funny if I'm gonna name drop him again. one of my favorite podcasters, Shane R. Monroe. He was a former naval sub occupant. He was in the service in a sub, and his stories on his show, which is Passenger Seat Radio, are great. And you get to hear the day-to-day life, what it's like, what you do in there when the sewer backs up, what you do to pass time. So if you're into that, if you want to find out more, I also worked with a guy who worked on a nuclear sub, steely-eyed killer of the deep. My friend Adam, who works in Frankfurt, and he's a real quiet, subdued guy, but you probably wouldn't want to screw with him, that type of guy. So I don't know if
kind of like me.
I don't know if it was like that before. Yeah, he's exactly like you. But yeah, I don't think I'd want to live on a sub. I will go there. So I was telling Boat, and before we even start this, I mean, and I asked him if the game selection committee knew this going in, and he didn't think they did. I guess they don't have to get together, but
and they would have. Yeah, this is definitely a major coincidence.
Yeah, it's a lot like when we did the very first Amigos, and it happened to be on the anniversary of the Amiga. December 7th.
Today is December 7th.
Yeah, we're taping on December 7th, 1941. As Franklin Delano Roosevelt said, to 1940. We're not taping on 1941, but that's the 1941, the date which will live in infamy. This was the day the Japanese attacked the Pacific Fleet, American Pacific Fleet at Pearl Harbor, and many casualties, massive blow, and among other things, the USS West Virginia was sank at Pearl Harbor. So it was this is a day that when I was a kid, it was a really big deal, in the States. And now, like today, I was looking over the news, and I didn't see hardly any mention of it at all. Did you guys do anything at school? Did you actually go to?
No, I mean there was no remembrance. I think that for a long time, Pearl Harbor was the time that we were attacked.
Yeah.
And after 9/11, there's been a time that we were attacked again.
You're right. It's really something to think about. I'm old. I'm a lot older than you. But when I was young, like this was a day that there were really 2 days that were like not really holidays, but they were remembrance days. And D-Day and Pearl Harbor were both big deals.
And also there were, when you were a kid, there were a whole lot more veterans that were around from that time.
So, I mean, as of right now, as we tape this, December 7th, 2018, 77 years.
Yeah.
It's probably crazy, isn't it?
It is.
And it just happens what are the odds that we'd be covering a World War II submarine simulator that covers, this is the start date when you play the game, that you can start adjusting from.
Yeah.
It's just mind-boggling. When I sat down to play this, I couldn't believe it. So, anyway, like Boat said, we're going to be talking about Silent Service 2, which is it's a American World War II submarine simulator. Silent Service 2 came out in 91. Came out a year earlier on DOS and all the DOS properties, and this apparently was converted from those. I'm assuming the ST version probably got converted as well. This came out in like I said, the ST DOS. The DOS version supported the Tandy graphics, which is cool. I always like when I see that. This was a 2-disc game developed and published by Microprose, the Microprose Labs. Microprose, the simulation masters.
Yep.
Right? Just to go over a few of their contributions: Civilization, F-19, Gunship 2000.
Micro League Wrestling.
Of course. M1 Tank, Nighthawk, Pirates, Railroad Tycoon, Red Storm Rising. So a lot
F1.
of
we just did it a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Sorry if you missed that.
And so they did a good job. They knew what they were doing. Their staff was super good at this sort of thing. It's funny though. I looked down the list of the guys that worked on this, and really the only game that a lot of them worked on aside from this was Knights of the Sky, which is a World War I flight simulator.
Okay.
Have you ever played Knights of the Sky? It's kind of a much more serious wings. With a lot more legitimate. You have to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's not like wings. You just go there and go bananas. And play it. What is Silent Service 2? As we mentioned, it's a game where you are the commander of a submarine, there's choices that vary, as we'll get into, and your goal is to basically win these sea battles. One thing you'll learn quickly, which I did, because I knew of this game, but my game was usually 680 Attack Sub, which was another sort of a contemporary submarine game.
Mm-hmm.
680 Attack Sub varies. It's funny, they're both sub games, but they're not all that similar. That 680 Attack Sub was, often you were going after other subs. There are no other subs in this game.
Right.
There also are no neutral or friendly shipping in this game, to the best of my knowledge. So all your efforts are to blow up ships and basically destroy tonnage. That's how they measure your success. How many tons of ship have you blown up? There are many ways to play this game. You can play an instant battle where they just kind of throw you into a battle. You can do a one-time patrol. That you can do a simulation of a war of a campaign, which is you start at a home base and you do a patrol of that area, and the encounters that you come up upon are randomly generated, and they're not. This isn't some kind of roll a d20. I mean, they put some scenarios together, like here's a fleet of ships, here's this, here's that, here's a freighter, here's a merchant ship, and then as you patrol. And your patrol is you're just moving around the map with a little dot until something the machine says, hey, here's what you come across. Do you want to do something? You can pick yes or no. So they've got that aspect of it as well, and you can actually run through the whole war.
Mm-hmm.
When you start a game, one of the things that comes up is it asks you for a date and what date you want to play. And the date starts December 7th, 1941, and rolls all the way to 1945 into the war.
Yeah, and the date that you pick affects the class of submarine that is available to you. As the war marched forward, the submarines got better.
Yeah, early submarines. Well, it's funny. I was talking to my buddy about this. He's a bit of a war historian. We were talking about early submarines in the Second World War. One of the things this thing does, just to illustrate how thorough the game is early in the war, the naval munitions council or whatever had came up with a torpedo that was, the plan was it would go, instead of going into a boat, it would go under a boat and detonate. And what was supposed to happen is it would, as the explosion went up, it would rip the bottom of the boat up like this, and it would come outwards, and it would sink, right? The one problem with this is it didn't work at all. It was a dud. It didn't work. And so some of these other guys got together and got these torpedoes and put different sorts of things into where it was just like an impact device. So you would hit the ship, blow up a proper torpedo. These guys were almost court-martialed. Eventually, the Naval Administration said, listen, if it wasn't for, these guys have the highest kill ratio in the Navy. They know what they're doing. Your torpedoes are garbage. But in the game, you can pick historically accurate torpedoes or perfect torpedoes, and it makes a difference. Torpedoes also used to run on steam, so that you had your steam torpedo, then you had an alcohol-based fuel, and then you eventually went to diesel fuel. And these are all represented. I like that. As Boat said, depending on what part of the war you start in, you'll have different submarines at your disposal. The submarines that are faster, that can go deeper, that have radar. Most of the submarines don't have radar, which is another difference from 680 Attack Sub, where you've got radar. In these subs, a lot of it go to periscope depth, visual sights. They do have sort of a targeting computer, but it doesn't do much.
Yeah, it's an analog deal.
It basically gives you once you activate it, you have to have the guys in a certain area on your sights. Then you'll see the crosshairs kind of turn a different color, yellow. Then you can hit the button, and it will give you range and how deep
it works like an analog rangefinder if you in golf.
Right, exactly. I've never used one of those. This game starts you can start out with training, which is what I did to acquaint myself with it, and you just go out and blow up some derelict ships. There are different representations on the ship of different areas of the ship. You've got your map and chart room. You've got a periscope room. You've also got a room that tells you all the ship's status, damage, how much damage the ship has sustained, how the functionality of the systems on the ship, how the hull's doing, that sort of thing. And then you've also got a area where with gauges. And this is where you can set use the mouse to set your speed. You can begin to dive and whatnot like that. Now, the way I'm gonna touch on you because I want to hear how you did. The way I played this for the longest time was going to all these different areas every time I wanted to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't use any keyboard shortcuts at all because I didn't know about them. I'm guessing you used the shortcuts as soon as you found out.
Well, I definitely didn't, like, when I first started to play, I didn't know about the keyboard shortcuts, but I think the amount of time that it took me to locate those was shorter. Because, like, for example, if you want to go to periscope depth, to do it the hard way, you have to go to the thing and you got to dive and then
that's exactly what I did. At first.
The real way to do it is hit an 8. If you hit 8, you go to 55 feet and the periscope goes up.
I actually printed out all the little, I'm not going to read them, but I printed out all the keyboard things, and one of the reasons I did it so I could have this paper sitting beside me when I played. It was funny, one of the things I read is there was an offer, and I don't know if it had it on the Amiga version, but on the PC versions of this, you could send in a postage, and they would send you a keyboard overlay.
Yeah.
Which would have been great.
Yeah, I saw Pixels found a scan of one, but it was pretty low res. I would love to have that thing. Keyboard overlays, what happened to them?
Yeah, that was a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, keyboards are variant now.
That's true.
But back in the day they were pretty standard. So what I would do is bounce from room to room, and to do that you just click on at the bottom there's a line of icons, and you can click on whichever room you want to go to. And so what this has you doing is, for example, if I'm approaching an enemy fleet, okay, I want to put you can adjust the throttle up to 4, and if 4 being your top speed, you'll go as fast as you can. Now I have to admit, I played every sub that starts out in 1941. I didn't skip ahead, okay, so I know from watching video that later subs have better stuff, but my subs are just sort of the plain Jane ones. So you'll approach a fleet, for example, and then when you get in what you consider firing distance, you can fire your weapons, and you can even you can lock onto a ship, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to hit it. It just means, like you said, it's a rangefinder. Torpedoes have a limited distance; they don't go on forever.
Yeah.
As I noticed, you would just launch these things; they would just fly out in the distance somewhere. But they run out of gas, they run out of fuel.
It's over.
And something I learned also quickly is that you can they have a minimum distance. And so if you get too close, they won't work. Because I was like, man, I'm going to drive right up this guy's tail. And I would drive up, but the torpedo wouldn't work. It's too close. So a lot of these torpedoes have limitations. When you shoot a torpedo, you've got forward and aft torpedoes, at least in the ships I played. And when you shoot them, you'll get an animation of the sub kind of underwater. It goes.
It's one of the most graphically impressive parts of the game.
The torpedo
launching sequence.
And it'll shoot this. And then you could. What I like to do, of course, because I'm vain, I like to switch over to the periscope thing and just watch the missile zoom in and hit the ship, and it would explode.
Or in my case, I watch it sail right on past the ship I'm targeting.
That's right. That's right. So just. As we're getting into this, what did you think? What were your initial thoughts on the interface and the way the game set up with all the various mission options and whatnot?
Well, I played up into the point that I played this game. All of my silent service came from the NES.
The first one was on there, right?
The first one.
Yeah.
And so I kind of had an idea of the way things should go.
However, are they similar?
Well, this one seems like it's stymied by excessively complex controls. By the end of my stream, I felt like I could do everything the submarine could do, but what seemed easy and intuitive with a controller seemed much more difficult with a full keyboard and a mouse. I feel like this game gives you such a large amount of realism in everything that you do.
Yeah.
And I think for the market that these guys were targeting, they probably were going for that, versus when they made the NES version, they were like, we gotta simplify this because the console crowd is not going to want to read through this manual.
It's funny because 688 also came out on the consoles. Both those games are not games you would think would be something that would come out.
Right. And so this game, I downloaded the manual And I was reading
the
through
novel,
it,
yeah,
and it's 120. It's over 120 pages long.
yeah.
And this is a thing that you would take to bed with you. I mean, like you can read it just like you would a book.
You can take it to bed with you because it knock you out.
Yeah. It gives you the full history of submarines in the war. It tells you how submarines work at a level much, much beyond what you need to play the game. But this is part of like what makes computer games from this era so compelling. You know, not only are you learning how to play a game, but you're learning something about history, you know, and you're learning about how these machines work. Old train simulators are also similar to that. That's, you know, I watch this guy that plays a lot of Train Simulator because that's just the kind of guy that I am.
Also, take that to bed, too.
Yeah. And you know, back in the day, I'm sure that the, you know, Train Simulator 1992 came with this tome that explained everything about how signaling works and stuff like that. Now you get no manual and you get all these in-game tutorials. It's not the same thing, you know. I don't feel like I'm learning when I'm doing an in-game tutorial like I'm when I'm reading a book.
You remember when you were a kid and you'd go out and buy a game, your parents take you out, and then you're in the car.
Mm-hmm.
You can't play the game.
That's
What
right.
do you do?
You read the manual. You
Absolutely.
burn that thing
and
into your brain.
Great. And
yeah.
like you got to go to the can. What do you do? Take the manual.
That's right. That's
you
right.
Know, you're right. That is something that's gone. And the manual for this was for running. But really, you know, I'll tell you, you know, simulations always scare me. This wasn't as intimidating as Sim Life, for example, which I was just like, you know, deer in the headlights. But I never played the first Silencer. It's funny because I've got the box at the house that you sent over with me. I haven't actually played it yet. But this, I actually thought the controls in this were, especially once I learned the keyboard controls, were pretty good. Now, there were problems, which I'll get into. And I didn't think this game, this is going to sound weird, the interface of this game was sloppy, like sluggish. I guess, I mean, if you want to click, it's not like you just simply go down to one of those icons and click on it and go to that menu. You'd have to...
Yeah, you got to pound on it.
And I thought, at first, I thought it was an emulation. And so I played this on both, you know, and it seemed just, I don't know if it was really overloading the machine, and it was causing it to slow down, or I don't know what was going on, because when this thing loads up, it initializes, it's a long process it goes through. I'm like, man, what's this thing doing? It's really unfurling something here. So that was a real hassle, especially when you're going at 15 knots at full speed, and you're getting ready to run over something. Because I had a bunch of times where I couldn't get back to the menu to stop it in time before I knew about the keyboards stuff, and I would ram stuff, and that's not good for the sub when you do that. So that's probably my biggest gripe with this game is that it's just the controls, the mouse controls felt sloppy.
I agree with that 100%.
I'm glad because I thought, man, the boat's going to tear me up for this. Because you wouldn't think about that in this game. And even when you're launching torpedoes and stuff, you know, and something else, the controls aren't intuitive. Example, when you've got the periscope up, you can there's a range on it. You can set like a magnification. Right. And what you do is go use up and down with the different mouse buttons. That's no good. Even when I was watching your playthrough and you were on the map and you were trying to zoom in and zoom out, that's not a good way to do it. No. You should have at least like hold the mouse and move or something. I didn't like that. You could tell this wasn't made by people on the Amiga. So when I read that this was a port of the PC, I was like, yeah, there you go. They didn't use the Amiga like someone that actually has an Amiga that would know how smooth it is to do this mouse stuff properly. So I thought that was a problem. Another problem is even when those controls work well, you are bouncing around back and forth a lot if you don't use the keyboard controls. I guess what I'm saying is you need to use the keyboard shortcuts. Yeah. There's no choice.
It's really the only way to play.
When you are sailing your sub around, it's pretty easy to get you underway. To dive, it's not too bad. You learn eventually that when you want to go left or right, you just hit it once. It'll keep going left until you go back. There was a few times earlier where I would be just spinning around in a circle.
Oh yeah,
like a dingbat. So I felt like an idiot there. I don't know if you dipped your toe in the full campaign mode.
Yes.
I started on the very first day, and when you start the game, it lets you choose your home port, which is cool. And you've got to be careful how you choose your port because this game is pretty historically up on itself. And this is something I really enjoyed about it. And I could sit down and play this in history if I was better at it, because right now I'm not that good. But when you start the game, you start playing, these flashes will come up. They're almost like memos from like headquarters or something. and it'll be like, oh man, we just lost Guam. All the Philippines are being overrun. We've lost this and that, or we've gained this base you can now go to. And so as the war goes on, depending on what time you started, the United States will lose or gain ports, including you can even lose ports that's your port. And so if you lose the patrol port that you come out of, you're going to have to go to another port.
Right.
And some of these ports are far off.
Yeah.
You know,
one of the things that was great about this is that it gives you a sense of the scale, you know, as you zoom in and out of the map. When you first leave on patrol and you leave from Hawaii and you're going to Japan, I mean, there's a lot of open ocean between you and Japan.
And if you look, especially again when you start, I started the day of Pearl Harbor, and it looks like you're totally screwed.
Yeah.
The Japanese are just taking everything, and you're just like, oh God.
Right.
When you go on these patrols, it reminded me of like the out menu of Venture. It zooms out way out, and you see the whole half the world, and you're just a little dot, and you're moving the dot around. And I was watching your video, and I was like, what's he doing? What's going on? And but you move the dot around in your patrol area until something happens.
Right.
You know, and as you do it, fuel is being consumed. Days are going by. You're occasionally getting an update from the war of what's happening. It's an interesting way to do it. It's probably not the way I would have done it. I probably would have done it more like, because effectively you're wasting your own time in non-real time.
Yeah.
At least in something like Wings, it would just be like, okay, here's the next day. Here's what's happening. And you couldn't do it that way, but what you could do is be like, you could just have a calendar go until something happened, as opposed to just sitting there wiggling your dot around.
Right.
You know, it's kind of goofy. But it's not horrible. It's not like a deal breaker or anything. When you actually get into combat, there's some real awesome. It gives you a good sensation of being on a sub. Like your commands are issued when you're heading into a battle. You hear like, you know, when you're diving, you'll hear a guy go like, there's bells ringing.
Oh yeah.
You know, and when you get hit with something, the screen will shake, and you'll get these messages like, you know, hull integrity, blah blah blah. You must surface, blah blah blah. blah. Something else that's neat, aside from the static picture of your ship, if you get too close to, or if boats go over your ship, then you'll see the very unfun. I don't know if you ever got to this point where they're dropping depth charges.
Yep.
And they don't miss ever.
No.
I always waited for them. And of course, when they drop these depth charges, which are just depth charges, if you don't know what they are, they're just like barrels full of explosives.
Right.
And they drop down to a certain depth, and they just explode. And they are there to get subs, and they're just guesswork. They're guessing how deep the sub is. They could set them, and they just tip them off the side of the boat. They tip a bunch of them off. It's very creepy to have that happen. You're sitting there. So when ships get over you or near you, you get very uptight. At least I did. I wasn't great at the game. I'm still learning how to I'm getting better now that I've got the keyboard shortcuts that I can actually get around better, because, like I said, using just the mouse was really tough. It made it hard to maneuver. I mean, I can beat, like, if it's just a couple of ships, I can kick the crap out of them. But when you get, like, a fleet of ships, they're coming at you full steam. You know, I don't know if you had a scenario like that, and you're trying to evade and you're trying to be sneaky. It's tough.
Oh, yeah.
That I'm not that good at.
Again, it was one of those things where I would forget what position my rudder would be in, and I'd start going off in one direction that I'd overcompensate, and so, yeah, it was bad.
I looked at the DOS version of this just to see how they compared. The Amiga versions, it looks okay. I mean, it looks like they lost a little bit in terms of graphics, but it's not bad. And as I played this game, I didn't feel like I was being deprived. The sound is great. It looks good. It's a fun game. Would I call it a light simulation? No. Would I call it a deep simulation? No. It's somewhere in the sweet spot, I think. And like I said, it's got a little bit of something for everybody. If you just want a quick fight, you can go in. If you want a quick patrol, you can do that. If you want a full-on campaign, you can do that. Plus, like Boat said, you'll be able to pick different subs as the game goes on. It saves scores. It's got a high score table you can look at. It also has, it's got a lot of historical information that's accurate. It was widely regarded in its day for its historical accuracy and what you could learn from it. And I think when you play it, you probably will learn a lot about submarines, if that's something that interests you. And something we didn't mention, but when you first pick a mission, it gives you a lot of statistics on how far away you'll be able to see, and the different profiles of your sub and how they'll be able to, at what point they'll be able to be seen. Because when you're sideways, you're a lot easier to be seen than if you're running straight on. There's a lot of information there. Plus, it gives you all the statistics about your ship. Even when you start a game, it gives you a ship with a random name. The names are pretty cool. They put a lot of thought into it. I mean, it's funny when you boil it down. It's a simple game in terms of the way it's the structure of it, but it reminded me sort of like Elite. It's a simple. It's the idea is less complex than it seems, because basically these encounters are they're random encounters that they just make up. But they're good, So overall, I was pretty surprised with this one, Bo. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I thought overall this is a very good game. I don't think that it really is a 16-bit game, though. I mean, I don't think that graphically it's doing anything great shakes that's taking advantage of what the Amiga can do. I'm thinking in particular the views of the ships. They move very, it's definitely a frame-by-frame type movement. There's no smoothness at all. If you think about a game like Lotus, where everything is ultra smooth, I'm not expecting a sub-simulation to replicate that exactly. But I'd like to see something lean in a little bit more. Like, for example, when you're looking at a ship, you should be able to see it sail across your viewport in a smooth way. It should act like a real ship. You should be able to track it. And this is just very frame. That's disappointing for a 16-bit game.
I think, you're right, but I'm going to defend this slightly, but I'm going to defend it by pointing out its folly. If you read the box for this game, it says that the game has digitized graphics, okay? And if you look real closely, all the ships are digitized ships, okay? And your sub is digitized. And when I say digitized, I'm using the little air quotes here because this is early. Like, we sort of digitized it, and then we went in and sweetened it with deluxe paint, all right? So I think they got a little cute on, and I think this is one of those examples where just straight up sprites or whatever would have been smoother, and you could have made them look just as good, probably better.
Right.
Even the zoom in of your ship, which is cool, but nothing moves. And I noticed a lot of times I'll shoot this stuff when I was surfaced. Still same. It was the exact same view every time. The ships are herky jerky, and you're not going to get any sort of smooth activity through the periscope. Like you've got some of the ships have deck guns. I never got to use those.
I mean, it would have been cool if they would have built something into the periscope where if you click and then drag the mouse up or down, that would actually make you move the periscope instead of just clicking on the direction that you wanted to go, and that would have been cool.
Interface issues.
Yeah, like you said, interface issues.
Yeah, and again, you're right. The graphics are a little herky-jerky. The whole thing is just kind of herky-jerky. The PC version looks very similar to me, though. So I don't know if the Amiga was really at its limits, or that's just the way that, the game got thrown in.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, as far as simulations go, I liked it. It's just complicated enough, and I don't want to undersell this before we sum it up. This is an incredibly complex game, and when I say it's just complicated enough to where I can play it, it's actually way more complicated than I am. But a lot of it is the complication of it stems from your actual use of the sub, what depth you go to, how fast you go, what your angle of attack is, stuff that is beyond me to master in the 7 days I've gotten a fool with it. So I don't want to make it seem like this is sort of a pity-patty simulation. It's a deep simulation. When you read a manual that thick with a lot of theory in it about how submarine warfare works, it actually, and you can use everything in it. It's Knights of the Sky was eerily similar. I remember seeing pictures in it of or Battle of Britain. Another one where it would have like attack vectors for planes and stuff that you can do in the game if you know what you're doing. They give you the ability to do it, but if you don't know how to do it, you're just a doofus in a plane.
Right.
I was a doofus in a sub, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked it.
Did you look on eBay to see what this was going for?
I did. I absolutely did. So, and by the way, this is available for free, apparently. So if you want to download it, you can.
I've jumped the script. You didn't talk about how this game reviewed in the magazines of the day.
You did jump the skip. I got all this right here, same page. So, Lemon really liked this one, 8.32. And this was a very widely regarded, highly regarded game. Amiga actually gave it a 90. Amiga Computing gave it an 88. Amiga Format gave it an 80. I mean, just another one of these. November of 91, they gave it an 82. But in 97, one of the few games I've seen go up to an 87. It went up 5 points. Amiga Power gave it an 86 in 91. In 94, they gave it a 68.
Oh.
So this is the same old crap, man. Here's another one. Amiga, the one, gave it a 90. And then went back in 94 and gave it a 67. So I don't know what they're doing. The very first Silent Service won a ton of awards. And this one was, I don't know if this one was as successful. You know, you've played the first one. Did you enjoy it more or less?
Yes. Like I said, it didn't suffer from the same interface issues.
Yeah.
You could still do the patrol. You could still do the war thing.
What was better in this?
What was better in the Amiga version?
No, I mean, you've played Silent Service 1.
Yeah.
You played this.
Mm-hmm.
What made this a sequel?
Well,
I mean, I know obviously digitized sound. Or that
yeah,
sort of thing.
I mean, I think that like I'd really have to go back and play the NES version again. I mean, I'm sure that the graphics are better in this version. I'm sure they are.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I really liked about the NES version is instead of having a menu at the bottom of the screen where you have the different views, you know, periscope, bow, stern, all that stuff.
Yeah.
When you go to the menu, I think you hit select, you actually see the cabin of the submarine and you've got a dude in there. And when you press different directions, he goes to the different stations.
Yeah.
He doesn't move in real time. He just kind of blinks from one to the other. And that made it more personal. You know, it's like you see the guy in there.
Well, 688 had a crew, as I recall. Mm-hmm. You know, something else that I think would have helped this game a little bit is a third-person view of the sub, at least when surfaced, so you could get a better gauge because otherwise you're basically reduced to like using that periscope to like click, and also moving the periscope around is a monumental pain in the butt. Again, interface. So there were things I would have added to like a Silent Service 3, which apparently that
I need to go back. Maybe I'll stream a little bit of Silent Service on the NES
just
to compare.
There you go. eBay. I found this in the U.S. I always like when that happens. A budget version of this in the box for $10. The Netherlands, $17. UK had several of these, 11, 21, $38, and Italy, $17. So everyone's looking around between the $10 and $20 mark. You can take home a box version of this. Wouldn't be the worst thing to take home. The manual, if you're interested in submarine warfare, just strictly on that basis, and it also goes over all the boats, all the different submarines in great detail. So with specs and whatnot. So if you're into that sort of thing, that's pretty cool.
Awesome. Well, Aaron, before we go, I want to remind everybody that voting is still open for the Best of Amigos 2018 poll. So every year for our New Year's Spectacular, we have an award show where people, all the viewing public votes on their favorite games, and we do too. And we have and sometimes our winners are not the audience's winners, and vice versa.
Oh man, ain't that the truth?
I only have to mention the Three Stooges to bring back that old chestnut.
Oh man!
And so that you can get to that form by I don't know that we've posted it up on social media yet. I know I've put it on Twitter and Facebook. So if you follow us on Twitter and Facebook, I don't know that we put it on G+ yet, but I'll put it up there this week.
Actually, I had not. I have to do that.
And if you, we'd like to have your input, and we're going to have a stellar Best of Award show this year. Duncan Stiles has been producing some new video stuff to feed into that. So
hey, now, what's the deadline to get your entry in, Boatster?
We'll tape the New Year's Eve show a couple days before. So I would say if you get in by Christmas, that's probably, if you vote by Christmas.
It's fun just to go through the ballot, and I went through and it's because it's got effectively everything we looked at this year, and it's so much different than last year. And the reason I say it is, like, the first couple years we did this show, we picked the games, we picked where we wanted.
Right.
So we hit, and trust me when I say it was low hanging fruit. It was like, hey, let's do blah, do Shadow of the Beast, right? And so you can tell this year, like, the games are of a different. They're some of them are more obscure to me anyway, and but they're probably a higher quality of game. And I really struggled with picking my favorites, not because there weren't that many, but a lot of them fell in that area. And I thought there were far less duds this year than we've encountered. There's no first-person pinballs or anything.
Right.
But it was and I noticed this today when I was reorganizing the playlist. Which, oh, by the way, the Amigos playlist for the show is reorganized. So if you want to go back and listen to the whole thing, you can do it in order now
on YouTube.
But the show radically took the game selection committee have made the show much better. Because they know so much more than we do.
Exactly.
This is another game. This week's a perfect example. We would have never picked this game in a million years.
Yeah.
I didn't know it existed. I ain't heard of it. So there you go.
Yeah. And speaking of the Amigos Game Selection Committee, we want to thank them for choosing this game. Again, that is one of the many rewards you can get by backing the show on Patreon. And last week, Aaron, the Patreon Song Challenge had a couple winners. Last week's song was Raspberry Beret by Prince.
Oh, that's what that was? Oh,
Paul
Lord.
Harrington, Colin419, and Pack Billy. Congratulations, you are the winners. Now this week we're going to do something a little bit different.
Okay.
So, sometimes on Discord, you pop in now and again, and you're always like, and this happened, and you're like, some guy put this thing up on YouTube. It was Andy Craig,
yeah.
longtime supporter of the show. You have no idea who our Patreon supporters are.
No,
you're like, who the hell's Figgy Z, Boat? I'm like, man, he's been on Discord
now
14 years.
That is not true.
So
I knew who Andy was, but I didn't pay attention to the name.
Today,
I just saw the criticism.
Aaron, it's time for a little refresher. You are going to read the Patreon supporters' names.
Uh-huh.
And,
when does the singing start?
Well, I'm going to provide an instrumental accompaniment.
Okay,
in the
that's fine. By the way, I know who these people are. Don't give me that. I just want to talk about the comment. So, gosh, now, folks, look at these. See these? These look thin, but they're Coke bottle thick. I'm blind as a bat. So, Boat, in his infinite wisdom, because I guarantee he came up with this little idea on the fly. He wrote these names in the smallest conceivable font. Thank you, Boat.
Man, it's got to be at least 6.5.
My God, sir. What are you doing to me? Okay, here we go. I'm just going to read this. I'm going to look like this now,
okay.
like a doofus. So, are you ready?
Yep.
We got Tim Drew, Daniel Williams, Robert Edgerton. How do you say that one? Edgerton. Wow. The third, Simon Rose, Joseph Harrington, Kyle Etter, Rob Flack O'Hara, Howard Nibbs, Matt Larimore. I know that guy. Andy Craig. I love Andy. Shanzo. Darren Lomax. Colin 419. Bark Bit. Roland Burke. Andrew Monks. Joe the Zombie. John Cook. Dan Ross. Leaf Kalland. Alan Kebab. Chakotay. Level Lord. John Marshall. Matthew Perrone. Ricky DeRocher. Creepy Dead Boy. Figgy CTC. Who's that, Boat? The Slow Norris. Stefan Sogard Martson. Edvin Helen. Blindo 75. Christopher Hassel. Don't hassle me. I lost my place. Ravi Abbott. Chris Folds. Dream Ketchup. Laurent Giroux. Graham W. Webke. Brent Dowdy. Lane Denson. Adam Battersby. O'Brien's Retro and Vintage. The Huck. Gary Hucker. C. Brian Jones. Paul Harrington. Duncan Stiles. Alan Kebab. Anthony Jarvis. Tapes from the Crypt. Josh Nan. Adam Bradley. Jonas Rulo. THT. Eric Nelson. Kim. Tommy. Humbastan. Daniel Bingston. The Brutal One himself. Brutal Barracuda. Darren Coles. Jason Warnes. Pixels at Dawn. And Kilborn Barman. How's that?
That was very good.
Thank
Some of
you.
those names I felt like you were reading for the first time.
Incorrect, because I've read the list before, Smarty Pants.
I don't remember.
Oh, before we go, a shout out to our good friend, YouTube Daniel.
Yes, Daniel
Who has
Cordell.
been under the weather.
That's true.
And he just popped back in, so keep the waves of posts coming, Daniel. We love you.
Absolutely. Welcome back. Next week, Aaron, we're going to take a break from the sub. We're going to surface, and we're going to enter our very own international fighting competition. As all good sub-captains do. We're going to play Shadow Fighter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, I think I can beat him.
We'll find out. Thanks, everybody, for listening. As always, we record this show every Friday, except when we don't. But we've been good lately. We've been recording good.
It's amazing. We've gotten this close to Christmas, and we're still on target. That's despite the fact we're out there buying gifts and whatnot. Oh, speaking of gifts, but what's a great gift to give what will clothe you on a cold Christmas night?
Aaron, you can buy a shirt that will end all shirts. If you go over to teespring.com and go to the Amigos Retro Gaming Store, you can buy, I just got one of the new sweaters. I meant to wear it tonight. Unfortunately, I forgot. Yeah, this is not of their ilk. This is more of the Walmart variety. But there are tons and tons of shirt options, including our Amigos World of Staff and Supporter shirts, tons of Guru Meditation shirts and Amigo Workbench shirts, the logos and things. So go on over to Amigos Retro Gaming and
you forgot one.
What did I forget? Oh, the Lionheart shirt.
No, not the Lionheart. Oh. Well, yeah, that one, of course. But what about the Mime and Puppet Bar?
The Mime and Puppet Bar shirt. That is on the number one. If you wonder what to get your mother this year for Christmas, I can tell you she's asking for the Mime and Puppet Bar.
And under no
shirt.
circumstances should you explain what it means.
No.
Just let her mind roll. That's right.
So, I want to thank everybody that's hanging out in the chat on live here on YouTube. We got Edvin Helland, Necronom Hasifa, Lobsterminator X, Amiga Bong. I think Amiga 500 Fury was here for a while. Amiga Dude Fury.
Retro Man Cave was in here
Retro Man Cave. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with us this evening. We'll be back next week with Shadow Fighter. Until then, adios.
Did it tape?
It taped. Any particular reason? Yeah, I just kind of wanted to play it on the NES because that's the one that I remember playing. I want to see if my memories of the NES version are what they seem in my mind.
Thanks for showing up, guys.
Are we going to do insert disc 2?
Hasifa. Yeah, what's on the docket tonight? The docket.
I don't know. Remember when I said I have nothing for insert disc 2, and you're like, all right, I've got something.
You don't have anything for insert disc 2? We'll just make something up.
Oh, that'll be great.
What do you mean? That's what we always do, isn't it?
No, you don't know how.
I've got some stuff. I've got stuff just to. I'm going to float over all the current events on YouTube. That's what I'm gonna do.
All right. Oh, wait a minute. Let's
look at that. Oh, put it back up.
I always forget to switch the camera back.
I know.
All right.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
I've got several topics this week. Several topics.
Hit me.
Whack. I'd love to do it. So, there's been a lot of buzz this week on various retro gaming related items, Bode. I figure we probably just touch on some of these modern retro topics.
Okay.
Topic 1. I have been following the PlayStation Mini this week. I don't know how much you've looked into this delightful little scamp of a Mini.
I think lead balloon is the general consensus on how this thing is going over.
Well, yeah, I'd say you're right. But, I mean, that's in the retro crowd. You don't know how it's doing in the straight world, as we say.
True.
However, I've noticed that the past couple of days, recent events have popped up that make this console a little more interesting to people. And by now, this is old news if you get on YouTube much. But they have actually managed to kind of break into the emulation portion of the... now,
okay.
This was, I got to tell you, Bo, this is so tricky, so hardcore, that there's no way a person like yourself could ever get into the simulation. Here's what they did. Some dude was like, hey, man, this thing's got a USB port. I'm going to stick my keyboard in this thing. Burp, it did. Logitech keyboard. What happens if I hit escape? Bam, it's emulated.
Oh, my God. That's unreal.
That was that easy. Now, what can you do in here? Well, you can change various emulator options. You can, among other things you can do, is, one of the beats of this game is 9 of the games are in PAL, and they ran slow, horribly slow. You can just change them in NDSC.
Oh, wow.
So that's a plus.
Yeah.
One would wonder why that wasn't done to begin with.
And I remember hearing about half of the games or something like that are in PAL mode. Did you figure out why? Do you know why?
No one's sure. Here's my theory. and it's funny, reading Discord is where I got the thought of this. Sony is a large, multinational super corp, okay? And most of their money, someone mentioned, comes from the insurance game or something like that. They're still in the electronics game. The PlayStation's not in close their number one priority. And I've got the feeling that this was something that some like C-level department put together and manufactured and shit. I don't think anyone gave a crap. And I don't really think Sony gives a crap if it sells well or anything. I just get the feeling that's the only thing I can see to justify the jakey, kind of half-assed approach to doing this. That much said. And again, all these minis, they're all emulated versions of the original thing, which that's okay. And so this one's no different. But this one the difference was the care given to this one was poor. Not even the interface. It's not great, but that's okay. But it's just poor. When you put PAL games in, it's just stupid. So I wasn't terribly surprised to learn you could hit escape on the keyboard and break into the emulation portion of these things and tinker around. Now, to the best of my knowledge, you cannot load new games from there yet. But a video just popped up today from a fellow who allegedly was able to load new games on the item. So we'll see. So that might make it interesting because the Super Nintendo, for example, has a lot more legs than it would have without the hacked portion of it. And following along those lines, I saw also on Discord that you chat with somebody on there about the ability to put Amiga games on the Super Nintendo. Did you see? You saw this?
Yeah.
Have you got yours is hacked? Have you actually done
so
that yet?
I got mine. That was a generous gift from our buddy Christopher Hasifa, and he sent it to me pre-hacked. And with some extra games on it, and I've put even more games on it. And I've got Neo Geo, Super Nintendo, regular Nintendo.
Now, are these stored on the device or
these
an external
These
gimmick?
are stored on the device.
Okay, so how much room is in there?
That is a great question. I'm not sure what the limit is. In the program that you use to interface with it, they give you that information. I just haven't looked. But my plan is over the break, they actually have a way that you can go in and design custom folders. So you can have system folders, and you can end up with a interface that's very similar to a Raspberry Pi. And so
you realize the irony here.
Well, the difference is that the Raspberry Pi looks like a pile of garbage, and the SNES Mini looks like a little SNES.
You could literally take a SNES Mini, gut it, put a Pi in it, and you would have a Pi. It would look exactly the same.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could.
Well, I'm just saying, come on, Bo. It doesn't look like garbage. You could put the Pi in anything. Anything. It doesn't have to look like the power supply you made for the Amiga.
Hey,
which is still
that
working,
is a work of art. No one can cut a hole in a shoebox like I can.
Multiple holes. Give yourself credit, Bo.
But anyway, my plan is to really turn that into a Pi-like emulation device because, like I said, the Pi that you gave me is in the arcade machine over there, and so I'm excited. I was excited to see the Amiga stuff on there, but like you said, it doesn't run 100% perfect, and I have doubts about the how the keyboard interface works and stuff like that. So
it's impressive to even put a keyboard. I mean, it's something. It's cool. I mean, I've been kind of hard on the minis because I don't fully see the point. But for your average Joe public, they're fine. Or people that just want to have a collector's item. And the PlayStation is basically the same. It's funny that people are complaining it has a public access, publicly available emulator on it. But I mean, it's a good emulator.
Yeah.
It does a good job.
You don't need to rewrite the wheel.
They just did a crap job putting it getting it on there. And this thing proves it. You could have just made these changes and then showed it like that.
Yeah.
Something else I want to talk about this week. 2 weeks ago, remember our show way back? We talked about the one-up arcade machines at Walmart.
I do. I remember that well.
I actually got to play one in the interim. I think I touched on it briefly, but I actually got to play a Galaga at Walmart it was 2 weeks ago today, I believe. I got to go in there and play one of these things, and it played pretty well, and it looked good. I was like, man, this is a pretty good-looking machine. So I had heard that these machines had dropped in price, and I hear all these rumors. Now you can get it for $200. Now you can get it for $150. Some people say they can get it for $100.
Wow.
I'm like, man, $100. Aaron might be tempted to pick
Yeah.
maybe the trackball one up, or
Yeah.
maybe do something just a fun little project.
Right.
So I tiptoed over to the Walmart today to check these things out.
This is the Hurricane Walmart.
No, same Walmart, the one in Ashland.
Okay, because the Hurricane Walmart, I have not seen those over at the Hurricane.
Yeah, and went there, and guess what? They're still $299. Now they did have some on sale for $209, but not all of them. So, and I've word on the street is there's going to be a new crop of these coming out with different games. Wish I could remember what the games were that I'd heard, but you know, so I don't know how. I keep hearing these people are super successful. They're not successful. The only thing I know is that the arcade community, the proper arcade community, that have actual arcade cabinets, because if you don't know this, because you're not in the arcade community, much like everything, like the Amiga community, the arcade community is this huge, old school,
thriving mass of discontent.
And but one thing they all have, they've found a unifying factoid, and they all hate the one-up cabinet.
Right.
And I'll admit, the first time I heard about them, I had the same reaction, like, look at this crap, but there's nothing wrong with these things, except, and I'm getting it, so I'm bad-mouthing the people that bad-mouth these, and I'm going to bad-mouth the unit. So 2 weeks ago, I played this thing at Walmart, Galaga. Right? It looked great. It played well. Okay. Today, I stopped over, and I'm looking at these one-up arcade machines, and they're, like I said, they're so expensive. So I go over to have another round of Galaga, and I look at this thing. I took a picture of it. I'll have to upload it later. The control panel is, and this is 2 weeks, is worn away. Mm-hmm. It is just white plastic.
Yeah.
And one of the beefs about these machines was that the dye or whatever they used to make the machines was low impact, like it would go away quick. So I mean, if you use an arcade machine, you can imagine the amount of beatings and touchings that these things get.
I mean, your hands are all over them.
Now, and I'll give the people that make the arcade machines credit. They've come up with a deluxe gimmick. It's very simple. It's just a piece of plexi that sits over, just like a regular arcade machine has sometimes, that sits over top of the control panel and will prevent this from happening. But the sheer fact that this thing wore away, and when I say white, I mean as white as this table, in 2 weeks. Now, granted, you're going to get a lot of play at Walmart, but I mean, it's condensed play. Let's say you had the thing for a year. There's no way it would have lasted. It would have been gone.
Yeah.
Not a good sign. That was, I had to say, that was a big turnoff to see that. So to get significant use out of these things, you're probably going to have to augment them, with this deluxe add-on, which ain't free, by the way. These things you have to pay a couple bucks for them. So that made me think maybe I don't need an arcade one-up.
The ones that, like you said, the ones that appeal to me the most are the ones that have the alternative controls, the trackball. The lunar lander machine that's got the Major Havoc and all that stuff. That's cool. But just to have another arcade machine with a joystick and 3 buttons or whatever, I don't need that. I've already got some.
I've seen some videos of people that are fighting back and have got their own little arcade of these things. Bought them all, like 5 or 6 of these things, and they've got the risers, so they've built their own little risers, and they've got a nice little arcade, and I mean, it's nice.
Here's the thing: you buy 5 of these things, and you spend $1,000. You don't have to buy a lot of real arcade machines before you hit that limit.
Right.
And
the arcade community, I'm telling you, they hate these, and every time anyone mentions them, they all destroy the poster. They hate them, and I got to thinking about why that is. Why do you think that the arcade community at large hates these so much? What do you think makes them that mad?
I think they're threatened by them. It's somebody moving into their neck of the woods that they don't want. It's an undesirable. It's people that aren't real collectors. It's the same thing. That anything happens to an internet community where there's a sudden influx of new blood. People want to pretend like what they have is special and only for them. And when other people are having just as good of an experience and it's not exactly the same experience that they have that they think is the best experience, they react.
It's funny. A couple weeks ago we talked about how the YouTube community, when one of them jumps on something, it's a full-on beatdown for likes. And remember the Neo Geo Mini that came out a couple months ago? It got pounded across the board. Hated. And I was listening to Pixel Gaiden this week. Eric Nelson's show, and he had interviewed this dude who had one, and he loved it. He had a Neo Geo. He was a big Neo Geo guy. He loved it, and expostulated on the virtues of this little thing. And it's the first person I've heard come out and talk about how much they love the little device, how great it is. Now, I'm not saying go out and buy a Neo Geo, but what I'm saying is, sometimes you've got to ignore everyone because you've got to take a lot of these opinions with a grain of salt.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not everything that everybody kills is going to be something you want to go out and pick up. Most of the time, it probably is garbage, but a lot of these people are it's just follow the leader.
Yeah.
Follow the leader of hate.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the PC Manning. Everyone thought that was a stupid idea. Is it really? No, probably not, So think for yourselves, man. Don't even listen to us. Well, don't listen to him.
All right, that's it for that. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. We will see you. We'll see you around. I'm actually going to be streaming some Katamari Damacy reroll.
Oh no!
This weekend. So stand by for that on coming up soon. So anyway, have a good night, guys. Bye, Edvin.